Well, this is as good as it's going to get, man. We got the real life DeAndre Jordan. Nah, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today live edition. A Thanksgiving Thursday off last week, but we are back. I am Dan Besbris, and hark, what is that I hear?
Arf, arf.
I got to yell hark. Doesn't count if you don't yell hark. Brew, what's up, man?
You know, man, I'm just recovering from that Thanksgiving, dude.
Yeah, you and I haven't actually really talked in a couple of days, and it feels really weird. Are you okay?
I'm okay over here. Are you okay over there?
It's strange. Yeah,
I just figure whenever I don't talk to you for a couple of days, I just picture whatever movie that has like some dad that's got 5 kids hanging, like The Rock, whatever that kid movie was, where
was
he's
that
like
just called
the
Nanny?
The Nanny, the
No, the Tooth Fairy.
Pacifier.
The Tooth Fairy.
You got 2 kids hanging on, one on each leg, ready to jump out a window.
Was that not The Rock? Am I getting that wrong? I think that was the Tooth Fairy.
He did a Tooth Fairy movie.
The Nanny was Hulk Hogan, and that was in the 90s, I think, wasn't it? I don't know. The digression begins, and it's entirely my fault. Well, Brew, it's good to hear your voice. I know.
Yeah. Sorry, no camera. All my great camera locations are screwed up because it's pouring rain up here in Sacramento.
Yeah, you can't do your shade lounge in the backyard iteration.
No, and it's just chaos everywhere. We just got the kiddo out of the house. Wifey's working in the living room. We're a mess over here at Casa de Bruski.
Well, yeah, I mean, you make it through the holidays, then everything. But we got it. I guess there's a pretty big one later on this month. I don't know. Happy December to everybody. To those watching on YouTube, you can see our Twitter handles on the screen. To those listening to the simulcast on audio only, this, of course, is Fantasy NBA Today. At Dan Besbris, my Twitter handle. He is at Aaron Bruski. We've got the biggest topics of the week. Could almost be the biggest topics of every 2 weeks, but there's actually been enough stuff, I think, going on the last couple of days that'll keep us fairly well occupied. I want to remind everybody also, if you're listening to the podcast, please join us for a live show next time here on YouTube. If you're watching the video screen, use the chat room. We're going to do some questions at the end. We're not going to do the very specific, like, here's my team, what move should I make questions. But if you've got something that's kind of a little more broad topic, that's the stuff we like to go through. So we'll try to get some of those in towards the end of the program as well. But Brew, I feel like the biggest story is the guy in the background of our graphic this week, and that is the injury to Karl Anthony Towns, who, when he went down, the immediate thought was, uh-oh, is this a year? And it's weird that you hear like 6 weeks and think that's kind of good news, but that's where we're at. What do you make of the Cat situation? Is this just like, because after Tibbs basically exploded him for a few seasons, there's been one thing after the other with this dude. Folks have talked about Slow-Mo, Jalen Noel. They're all on the board. Where are you at with this one?
I mean, if we're just going to talk about Cat for a second here, I think his body and his conditioning has been a concern for about 2-3 years now. You make a great point about Tibbs, and you see Tibbs in his wake has just all sorts of players that he has destroyed through the years, and that's unfortunate. And you got to think, we'll just footnote that for a guy named Isaiah Hartenstein in New York. I've been wondering about that lately. But with Cat, the lack of conditioning has been apparent for a while. I think even when he was really young, you could kind of see the outlines of it. And that stuff, it trickles into these kinds of injuries. And so, 6 weeks, whatever that's going to be when he returns, there's a lot of pressure on this team to perform. I think there's a lot of pressure on him personally to be, quote, the guy that everybody sort of, this was a guy that the GMs 4 or 5 years ago all voted was the person that you would build around in the NBA. And it's not been the case. And he really hasn't developed into anywhere close to that guy. And then this trade with Rudy Gobert comes in and really just cranked up the pressure up 50 notches. So I think there's a great potential for him to return in like too fast, return ineffectively. And the physiological issues associated with this type of injury have such a trickle-down effect to every other part of the body. So it's a mess. I think that the Wolves will play better. in the interim, I think you've got injured star theory. If you want to just ride them for the next 5 to 10 games, I think they'll reorganize around Rudy Gobert, who, by the way, hasn't been great this year either. But I think they'll find their identity. There'll be more shots for guys. So I think that this will be like a good thing for a lot of guys. And then the players you mentioned, Kyle Anderson is probably not a great bet to be a top 100 guy, but he's definitely got that potential. 150 is definitely there for him. And then Noel is going to be great in certain builds because you won't have to worry about the shooting. He'll have plenty of volume with the scoring, and we love what he brings to the table if he ever gets truly cut loose. But on a team like this with so many shooters and scorers, it's really not in the cards for him this season. But right now, I think he has a real shot at 150. And then if you start taking away things he's not good at, if that doesn't matter to your build, he'll be a top 50 guy in certain, punt strategies. So that is, that's what his potential is. I should kind of tap the brakes on that a little bit, but for a guy that could probably average, say, 17 points a game during this stretch, there's going to be some pretty fat stat lines, some 17, 3, and 4 stat lines out there for him in his future. So I do like the idea of picking him up, and I do like the idea of him getting traded to another team as well. Just in general,
just to slip that in there at the end.
Just trade the guy already because I got him in 30 deep, and things are going well.
Oh yeah, I got all kinds of celebration notes on 30 deep, but
I think we're facing each other in the finals in that league, or in the division.
It's actually we are, for the first time that I can remember, on opposite divisions.
Opposite divisions, good.
I am Bryant Reeves. You are Deadlift this year. Thank goodness. But yeah, you're right behind Rick Kamla in the Deadlift division. I'm in third place behind Dennis Velasco and Brandon Kleiss. And I think by the end of this week, I should be moving in front because I've got an 8-0-1 lead going right now. I got Kevin Durant and Kristaps Porzingis to start that thing. I mean,
during this show, do you think we could just cry about injuries for 2 minutes?
Yeah, actually, I do have a segment on injuries slated for after we talk about the Orlando Magic.
Okay, good. I'll leave it for then. Because I want at least 1 minute on air crying about injuries, all right?
Okay. Can we also do a minute after that celebrating the fact that all of a sudden 4 big name guys are probably coming back within the week?
I mean, I was trying to last night try to put it in context in my head because it doesn't feel like there's been these years in the past where there's just major injury after major injury. I remember maybe it was even the Gordon Hayward snaps his ankle in half on opening night year where you're just whoa, and then there was the COVID year, and so I don't think things are as bad, but it feels like there are a lot of 1 to 2 month injuries or 2 to 4 week injuries just up and down rosters, and in particular for my squads, which I have most of my squads sitting in 5th place somewhere with a bench that's all stars, and it's very frustrating because on one hand I'm man, this is I guess okay because it could have been a whole lot worse, but Cam Johnson and Desmond Bane on every team, this was guaranteed multi-round jumps over ADP. And in the case of Bane, he was at a top 20 level, just crushing it with no end in sight. And it's just taken that profit and just ripped it away from me for no good reason.
Overnight. And the Cam one was really, that's a longer absence, especially frustrating too, because he got off to a slow start. And that was a really easy go by type of there was an opportunity to get even more out of that one because folks that drafted him were getting a little annoyed after whatever it was. He was on a hip. Yeah, he had a hip minutes restriction. And then he had 3 games of top 50. And you're okay, here you go. And then kablamo. Harden's been out for a month. Dame has missed most of the season so far. Paul George was a fairly predictable one, but he's back out again. Kawhi hasn't basically played a game so far this year. My greatest gripe, if we're going to do gripes here, is Chris Middleton, who's one of the good news guys now, along with Dame and Harden, who are all expected back within the next 4 days. But I'm so irritated with the Bucks. They downplayed that injury through the entire preseason. And then on the Monday or Sunday or Monday before the season started, they were oh yeah, by the way, he's not going to be ready to start the year. We're okay, fine. Not ready to start the year. No big deal. 6.5 weeks later, he's coming back. What the crap was that? They're not ready. He's not close.
It's small market stuff. It's just small market stuff. They don't want to tell you anything for whatever reasons. Like there's competitive reasons, there's agent reasons, there's I don't even want to say HIPAA reasons because everybody just uses that incorrectly. But like they do it, and if you're in a small market, like the media will just sort of be like, okay, yeah, we'll help you. You don't want anybody to know anything? We don't want anybody to know anything either. And it's just this symbiotic relationship in these small markets. I shout out to, I think it's Kobe Price in Orlando, who has sort of changed the Orlando no information ever situation. And he's brought some really good reporting to light on injuries and such. But like, I mean, even in like Sacramento last night, like De'Aaron Fox is quiet for a quarter, and then like a bunch of beat writers pop up like, oh yeah, he missed practice the other day. He's not 100%. You're like, well, that would have been great to know before the game had I been gambling on it, or whatever the case may be. And then he starts making shots. Oh yeah, never mind. He's not hurt. He's okay.
Yeah, I don't think we don't need to go full apologist mode if a guy has one bad quarter. That's I worked in the minors for a long time. Everybody that listens to these shows regularly knows that because I bring it up from time to time. It's a very minor league kind of thing to do and it's actually really more like a collegiate thing to do where someone gets hurt and you talk to somebody about it and they're just like, yeah, we'll figure it out. It's like, no, you know what's going on, but you just like, no one gets to know because in college, it's like, okay, it's fine. Like these are kids. Let's not make a huge deal out of it. But you get to the pros and then you get to the bigs and it's like, nobody knows what's going on. Get out of here with that crap. This is a lot of money and jobs are whatever. I have so much annoyance with the Chris Middleton thing because I drafted him in a bunch of spots thinking
so did I.
He'll be fine like a week. What?
It was funny. It's because that was the same experience for me. And then I just looked and I was like, I got a lot of Chris Middleton on my teams.
Yeah.
This is looking like it's going to be a bit.
Yeah, I had no intention of having all the Chris Middletons, but they were like, "Oh yeah, he's out for whatever it was."
But
like
he's back, and I'm sitting there looking at like 3 Chris Middletons on high stakes teams and going, "All right, this works for me." Like I'm glad he's back.
Let's try. Right? Okay, we'll try to look at it from the positive standpoint. I'm okay with that too. We'll be the happy-go-lucky folks because there are actually a few pieces of good data on the injury front. Middleton being one of them. He's back tomorrow, expected to make his season debut to just wallop the hapless Lakers just to sort of ease into the NBA season. And then you got Harden, who I think is targeting Sunday or Monday. I forget when their game is. And Dame is targeting end of the weekend, first thing next week. So, from that standpoint, like at least 3 of them are coming back.
Well, I think Cam Johnson will probably come back. So there's 2 schools of thought there. I think that they'll either want him back. He will want to come back, I should say, for the Christmas game. And I actually didn't confirm. I just assumed they're playing on Christmas. So if I got that wrong, my apologies. But that being a very visible game and him being in a contract situation, I think he personally let me finish that point. They are on Christmas Day. Yeah, he personally wants to be out there, but the way it shook out injury wise is it was better for him to do the surgery that had the quicker timetable independently of the contract situation, independently of wanting to get on the court faster. It was the shaving of the ligament, or pardon me, the cartilage in his knee that instead of, a bigger procedure like a snip or whatever.
Timing wise, it would actually be pretty close to the initial estimate because this last game was on November 4th. So that would be
the 2-month side.
Yeah.
So my thinking is they probably don't want to bring him back cold for that game. That would be a lot of pressure on him to perform, though. Their sons are old school, so maybe they do that. I would, if it was me, if I wanted to really play well on Christmas Day, I would have returned 2 to 3 games ahead of that. And his reports have been very positive, no setbacks, already on his feet and doing stuff. So I kind of feel like December 15th, that ballpark. I don't know if there's a game on that date or what, but so we could see him back in 2 weeks.
That would
So,
be also a small piece of good news.
which and Desmond Bain, speaking of small markets, we got to get David Williams over there, kick some butt.
Yeah, where the hell's he?
Yeah, David.
Not David. I meant Desmond, but certainly
yeah,
both.
no, David could just walk in there and ask the guy.
Hi, where are you, Des?
Can you break some news to us?
Because that was hasn't that been 2 weeks now?
I've lost track. A good 2 to 3 weeks there, and that was like printing money. The Desmond Bain stuff.
Oh yeah, that's been 3 weeks already. November 11th.
And they are very quiet there with injuries as well.
Always.
Like it's no shot at David because nobody like Woj doesn't get the intel.
Nope.
You know,
nobody gets to know. Toronto does that same crap. You're out indefinitely until you're not. Then you're out just definitely, or you're back definitely. Which is a shame because some teams use indefinitely and it means like a long time. We really don't know. And some teams use it when they know and they just wanted sort of like keep the wool pulled down as best they can. Brew, what are you, without like going too far down the tinfoil rabbit hole here,
my specialty.
Why are teams so secretive about this stuff? There's like, I don't see the obvious downside for people knowing even a rough estimate of when someone comes. I get like, don't rush a guy back. Don't put pressure on them to be back. But like, they want to play. So what the hell difference does it make?
It's really, I mean, it is tinfoil hat stuff, but it's not really that tinfoil. It's that there's currency in the NBA reporting world. There's a monopoly in the NBA reporting world, and it goes through the major agencies for players, player agents. They basically can give the info they want to Woj and Shams, and then a couple others, maybe like 5 to 10 others. And they can then, when they need to get stuff done for their clients, they can use that currency to frame whatever they need to frame in the media. And those are those reports that you see where like a trade possibility gets reported. And then like a local beat writer who's totally plugged into that team that never misses on that team ever, like John Gambadora in Phoenix, we'll just come out and be like, yeah, Phoenix has zero interest in that deal. Like, and at that point when like that report came out, it was pure propaganda from the side that would benefit from that report. And so on the front side of that, Shams and Woj and these other handful of newsbreakers, this is all currency. So if I'm a team, I don't want to give away my currency, early on in the process to like some local, wank that's got no juice, some local team blogger that's just happy to be in the room, right? I'm not going to tell that guy anything because I need to give it to those guys for currency. So they withhold, and it's this withholding game. And then there's some like mild stuff where like a player has a hurt hand, right? Nobody knows about it. Happens in a game, happens in a practice. Nobody knows nothing about it, and then it's not something they want the other team to know because they think that's going to cause the other team to slap down hard on the ball. So they're going to hide stuff that way. So it's just this web of intricacies. And I really think like blurbers who work with the news on a daily basis, they're the ones who really get the best feel for how this all goes.
All right. I want to pivot into the Magic because the Magic got an embarrassment of guard-related riches all at the same time on a team that was already sort of a total mishmash of who the hell was playing. But Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony each came back at the same time, and they're still they're waiting on Suggs. I think they've still got one more point guard in the hopper. The apparition known as Jonathan Isaac still hasn't taken the court, which might be the silliest story in the NBA in like the last 10 years. Dude's been out for 2.5 years now. That's TJ Warren length, but he's supposed to be back this week. What are the Magic going to do? What like stuff Fultz start, which I have to admit I was intrigued by because of all of those dudes, he's the one that could actually hold fantasy value without having to take 25 shots a game. The other ones, like Suggs, needs a ton of shots, tons of usage to overwhelm the bad stuff. And with Cole Anthony, it's a lot of popcorn numbers, which is great when he's the only guy on the court, but harder when he has to actually share it with Paulo,
The
who's
other
taking
point
truckload of
guards,
shot. Yeah.
the point forwards.
Point forwards when Franz and Paulo. So I added Fultz in a few spots. I'll put that out there. I thought he looked really good actually in his 15 minutes coming back. Because points, assists, steals on percentages that won't blow up your team is kind of an interesting combination. What are you thinking?
So Fultz, the player, has graduated. He did that last year and the year before. It took until about 2 years ago, and you started to see the outlines of a player that now gets it. There's not any sort of little man in his head issues, the major injury stuff. Yes, he's been injured, but like the shoulder blade can't shoot injury that was really the question mark surrounding him. That's all gone.
That was a lot like Ben Simmons' back injury. I think we can all be pretty honest about that now, right?
I don't know. I think Simmons is his own unique beast.
I just think that they're there was a mental thing. That's fine. That's
right.
Totally okay. Yeah. We all deal with that stuff, but it created this other. Oh my! I got a thing going on in my brain. It's telling me my shoulder's not right, but you get over the thing in your brain, and suddenly your shoulder feels a heck of a lot better. Which might be why my back is hurt right now. I do.
Actually, I won't go all the way down this rabbit hole, but like the pain neuroscience link is something I'm dealing with my RSI right now. I'm not even allowed to call it RSI actually anymore.
You got disciplined by
I got disciplined by my doctor because we don't even know what it is, and that just puts a name on a thing. And then your body, the mind-body connection is crazy, and it's definitely a different podcast. But like, I think with Ben Simmons, there was enough behavior that was that we all witnessed that was reported upon, where we didn't get that with Fultz. So like, it's just, I think, two different flavors of ice cream, as it relates to a potential, issue.
That's a mean analogy for a lactose intolerant show host.
Yeah. Sorry, dog. You should have some ice cream. It'll make you feel better.
Briefly.
But Fultz, the player, good. I think adding him makes sense. I think it's going to be come down to his health. I'm just more interested in what this does to the rest of the team, which functioned kind of all right without a point guard. It was not. I've been watching a ton of the Magic. They're the weirdest basketball team I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, Bull.
Like Bull. First of all, somebody got really mad at me for celebrating Bull, and all I gotta say is, for the amount I spent on Bull in fab dollars, I will celebrate all day long.
Why wouldn't you? It's a great story.
Well, it's a great story, but also like I think I spent I made big spends, and I hate to say it on Nick Richards, but like on drink Duff responsibly.
Man,
and also, could you play the guy? Come on, Steve Clifford. Could you play Nick Richards? Everybody in Charlotte's clamoring for it. He needs to put up some more empty stat lines that are bigger. But anyway, so I made a big spend, right? And then I had Bull pop up, and it was like, holy moly, this is going to be just amazing. How much money do I have? And I was like counting my money, like, okay, I'm just going to spend it all, and on Bull. And yeah,
that worked.
Yeah, it worked. And it's still going to be on the razor's edge of who knows how it could go. It feels like the whole year, because injury risk alone keeps me up at night there.
Yeah, I was in a league where someone dropped Nick Claxton, which is just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But someone went the full 100 on him, full hundo.
If there's like a unicorn, that's not a high profile unicorn in fantasy, it's Bull, because sometimes you'll see a stat line, you're like, man, that's 9 categories. Like, maybe with the assists not there, but like, damn, like, yeah. And watching him play, you're thinking, he's got some stuff that could end up being unstoppable. Victor Wembanyama style, can shoot over the top of you. You're going to just always be able to get that shot stuff. And so he's playing well. Banchero is like their guy, and he's an isolation player. Franz Wagner really does need the ball in his hand to be effective. So Fultz plays well with that. It's going to knock the rest of the guards off the radar. I think it will take from both of the point forwards value when these guards come back, because if they're on the court and you're not putting the ball in their hands, they shouldn't be on the court. And I mean, speaking defensively, you've got Jalen Suggs back there. You've got these long, lanky players, on the front line. So you can cover up for the lack of a, perimeter defender, a guard. So they've got this unique lineup that's super versatile, even though it doesn't feel versatile in the way that they're all sort of isolation and dribble heavy players. So it's just a really weird situation. It's really too bad Mo Bamba can't stay healthy and, be that final piece to what would really be a unique fantasy squad where Fultz gets his value on low minutes, low touches. The forwards get their volume. Bol does random Bol stuff. And then Bamba gets in there and also has a really good fantasy game and not such a good reality game. And the Magic win 30 games. We're all happy.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, you think they get to 30? I don't think they get to 30.
Well, what are they at right now?
They are at 5.
They're 5.
Just past the quarter.
Good job, Magic.
Yeah, they're well on their way to a 20 burger there.
Yeah, they're not getting to 30.
No,
I don't know if I took the over or the under. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I thought their number was very low. Let's okay. Their over under was like 24. It was nowhere near 30, I believe. I can go back and check that during something. Hey, want to remind everybody, by the way, I was sort of treating this like an audio only pod for a while there. If you are watching on YouTube right now, please do click the thumbs up at the bottom of the screen or wherever the hell it appears on mobile, because I'm an old man and I don't actually know what that looks like. And subscribe if you're new to this sports ethos universe. Our ethos is sports. That's the way it works. So please do all of those things. I did say do there. I don't know if you guys heard it. It was not. I wasn't gonna let
it slide.
No, nor should you. If it happens, you gotta let it slide. But let's talk one more thing. And then we'll get into questions here because we have until 11:30.
For those who don't know, that's a potty training word right there. You gotta let it slide out.
You gotta let it slide. This is around the time last year, Brew, where we talked about the great leveling. Have we seen what most guys, not all, most guys kind of are at this point now?
Yeah. But the leveling sort of is an overlay. It's in fantasy, it's in reality. It's, it's the ups and the downs. You take the good, you take the bad, the facts of life.
Well, yeah. And then you have
it. So you just got to play, it's like zoom into some numbers that don't make sense, shooting percentages that are 10% over what they should be, that's coming back, whichever direction it's, it appears to be right now. So, that, and then team stuff, like, locally in my backyard, the Kings are, just like a good basketball team that was able to sneak up on everybody. They started off terribly while playing well. And it was like, yeah, they're probably going to go beat the spread the next 5 games. And then they went and rattled off 7 in a row. And then it's like, okay, hey, now everybody's talking about that damn beam. Teams are coming in wanting to beat the Kings. Their shooting percentages are way higher than they should be. Guess who's going on a losing streak? The Kings. So that's going to happen on top of the individual player stuff. You got to just really sort of sort it out and figure out, okay, who's going to get hit hard, who's going to bounce back. And it's really player specific. But this time of year, it's fun because it's a little bit more predictable than, 5 games, 10 games after the season start. And you can take that predictability and really cash it in.
I also want to throw this little bad boy up on the screen. And for those, again, listening, this is an advertisement for manscaped.com. Use promo code ethos20 to get 20% off and free shipping on your order. I've been pushing, actually, the luxury nail kit, Brew. I don't know. Did we get them to send you one of those? If not, we gotta, because they're sweet. I got
boxes of Manscaped stuff.
Yeah, crack those bad boys.
I'm like, wait, you need a new one every year?
I actually agree with you on that. I've long said that they're the Lawnmower 3.0, which is one from I think like a year and a half or 2 years ago. That's the favorite sideburn trimmer.
Honestly, like I've not seen. I don't know if, especially growing up in the old days, I've not seen a device where men have unanimously said, "Wow, what a device!"
And that was the one.
That was the one, yeah. And
That was the one.
and Manscaped, that was a great pitch that I just made. So send me
Yeah.
another box.
Here, let me pull up the shears so everybody can see that luxury nail kit on their screen. It's sweet, man. Best nail clipper I've ever used. My wife keeps saying I have to talk about the shears on broadcast, so now I can actually put a picture of it. Oh my God, the technology. It's overwhelming.
They're not paying us enough for this kind of a pitch, Dan.
Oh,
This
it's
is
a
a
beautiful thing.
heartfelt pitch.
That's
You
right.
know, we on the rate sheet, we go like, we don't care pitch, medium pitch, and then
And
heartfelt ballad.
That's right. It's a power ballad about the Manscaped nail kit.
Hey, there's an idea for Matt with his Weird Al stuff. You could do a power ballad.
Did you get a chance? You probably didn't, because I sort of slipped it into a show. Our guy, Matt Matawaran, who is one of the two hosts of our Clippers show, also does a Weird Al style thing where he changes song lyrics to fantasy basketball lyrics, and they're amazing. And he changed All I Have to Do Is Dream, which is a song from, I think, the late 50s, early 60s, to All I Have to Do Is Stream. Strong recommend on that.
The first whiff of that I was a fan, and
yeah, I got it. By the way, he recorded it. Dude can actually sing.
Matt can sing.
I think he played the guitar in it.
I think he also played ball in college.
We've got a few of those guys on.
Yeah, like I think he's a deadly 3-point shooter.
I think Rhett.
He's like a jack of all trades. That Matawaran.
Yeah, I know.
I'll practice your name, Matt. Sorry.
Who's drunk at 11:15?
Matawaran.
Zion. What do you think about Zion? I want to do a few big boy questions here.
Zion. I can't do it. Like, it's gonna be bad. He's great. He's like, he's Zion. He's gonna score a ton. And he's gonna have, some crazy stat lines, and then he's gonna hang you up to dry with like a zero money counting stat. 3 steals and blocks, and some terrible free throw number, and like 4 rebounds or something, and you're gonna be like, no, I really wish I didn't buy that hype train in Zion.
He's number 56, by the way, in 9Cat, which feels like a pretty reasonable place for him to just sort of coast along with big and little games all blended together in a delightful bucket.
And of injury risk.
There's a little bit of that. Here's one. Dan from Hayden. Dan, as we sits 26% through the season. That's very specific. What percent of games played in a games cap league would you like to be at now? I'm ahead of pace, unfortunately, and I sat Jalen Noel and Max Strus yesterday. I mean, in the era now, 4 years ago, I used to try to lag about 20 to 25 games behind. So like, 1 or 2-ish at each position right now. I don't really do that anymore with the number of injuries in the NBA. And I've got to think that as we hit the winter months, COVID is going to pop up, even if it isn't as bad as the last couple of years. There's just so many missed games. I mean, like for Brew, when I look at that top 150 list and the average number of games missed is 14, you can't really afford to lag behind in games played anymore. Is this something that you mess around with much?
This sounds stressful. I just got to throw that out there. I mean, you're in November, December, and you're like, man, I really got to start Noel and Strus.
Yeah. Streamer, man. It's the year of the stream. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You're really making that big time, the games cap roto.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the alternative is that you could hold back a little bit more and then just super stream at the end of the season when you know what categories you need to aim for. There's a real strategy, involved in the last third of the season in determining what you can do, with your production and harnessing it in the areas that it matters. Percentages is one where you can kind of fade that because you can't really move the percentages at the end of the year.
Right.
So you can really, if the rest of the league's not in tune with this stuff, you can just get in there and stream all the popcorn stats that you want. And so who knows what kind of strategy that will lead you to right now. But that would be my only addition to the conversation is to maybe lay back a little bit and use the end of the year to pick up some Oklahoma City Thunder, ninth man or something.
Well, streaming is certainly popular right now because I keep a running list that I try to throw up daily, and it's at 23 names this morning. And every one of those is injury related.
I appreciated your note to the schedule makers about stopping with this madness of 13 games, and it was the most boring 13 game.
And then one. We got one game tonight.
That's it.
You couldn't push like 3 of those back.
Maybe I am going to start drinking early, Dan.
You might as well. Hey, Brew, what are we doing with Thad? I'm keeping him as long as he's in the starting lineup. I know he's still.
Yeah. I definitely agreed with the going forward with Thad while he's there and doing his things, and he's the proverbial player that they want to give the ball and give production to while the team is injured. They're like, this is your time, Thad. Enjoy the food, and but yeah, it's going to be over now.
My dog is going to sneak in and jump up on the bed behind this board. So if you see it like rattle behind me, that's a dog. This is a good one. It has to do with the backup centers who have massive potential.
Thank you.
How many can you have on your team, or is it situational? I think it's unfortunately, it's largely situational, which is kind of a cop-out answer.
And I'm glad that these names are being discussed, because that's the other thing about these 5th place teams of mine. I'm sitting there and I'm looking, I'm like, damn, these guys are not producing right now. And that is also hidden value for later on down the road. Each one has their own unique thing going on. Okongwu has really I've lost a lot of confidence in his ability to be a permanent guy. Every time I've lost that confidence in the past, he's sort of bounced back and been able to show that, hey, this is a guy that can get steals and blocks. He can participate in the flow of the offense. This injury to John Collins might be interesting, but I kind of think Okongwu goes the beat of his own drum, that what's going on around him doesn't necessarily impact what he does within the game. So I think I'm probably least excited about him, though the current scenario is good for him. If John Collins is hurt, we don't know. I don't know if an update has flashed by since we started. And then Hartenstein, this is a classic. I was actually kind of worried about this with the guy because he had that pretty bad ankle injury last year. Tibbs, as we were talking about earlier in the show, he's just bad news for players. And so when the admission that he was dealing with an Achilles injury hit the wire, I was like, oh, bleep, like this is not good, because they're going to just handle it the wrong way no matter what. If he's not going to be effective for whatever reason, there's a decent chance he should be resting. Not going to say it's like 100%, because he would lose all of his basketball shape if he rests. And that might be what they're trying to do, is continue to keep him strong and sort of protect the injury that way. But this is Tibbs. I kind of don't think they're going to do it right. Look at what they've done with Mitchell Robinson, who weirdly comes back and looks like he's 20 years old. He's running around the court, not dragging that leg around. So something's weird in New York. And then with Hartenstein, if he's not going to be an athletic big, the kind that can step up to the level and defend the screen and roll and be the special player that he was early in the season, and the stats were sort of flowing for the most part. I mean, we were all pretty happy about Hartenstein early on. That's now concerning. And I found myself saying, well, God, I hope the All-Star break comes so he can rest that thing, laughing, because that's not a good thing to be thinking,
right,
about a Hartenstein. And so to kind of bring it home, there are going to be situations, if you've got a lot of these guys, you're going to have to cut bait with one of them. And then with Isaiah Jackson, I was watching that game last night. Miles Turner, talk about a weird player. He sucked last night. Like, just flat out sucked. And this is a guy that they're kind of built around in Indy, and that's not helping his trade value. But on the other hand, he has these great games that are, really poppy in the box score. I'm sure that helps his trade value. But Indy, I think, is 12-10 after last night's loss. They play for an owner in Herb Simon, who has never tanked in his entire life. He's getting to the end of the road. So will they continue along that trajectory to make him happy? Rick Carlisle doesn't want to tank. Carlisle's in there doing all sorts of Carlisle stuff, which has really messed with the heads of all of their bigs. I think you're seeing inconsistency out of Jalen Smith, inconsistency out of Isaiah Jackson. This scenario of them having no Miles Turner and letting the rest of the bigs play and really do it within the flow of a Tyrese Halliburton pick and roll offense that doesn't have Miles Turner floating around jacking up crazy shots all the time. That is where Isaiah Jackson starts scoring, rebounding, putting up 4 or 5 defensive stats per game. So it's like, man, do you want to like sit on him the entire first third of the season when it sucks, drop him, and then watch him get picked up and go huge for somebody else? That's tough. I would probably rank them. I'd keep probably Isaiah Jackson, and then I'd probably flip a coin on the other two and get rid of one of them.
Let's do one more medium-sized question, and we'll see if we have time for a little lightning round. What is wrong with Scotty Barnes this season is the question. I have to admit, I haven't really been paying super close attention to Barnes because I drafted him in precisely 0 places. I thought he was going a round or two too early. But his percentages in particular are way off. Do you see those coming back, Brew? Do you see him moving past where he was last year or getting back kind of to where he was last year? Because I think that's probably where I'm at. I feel like he probably just ends up kind of where he was last season because it wasn't like the road opened up for him in Toronto. They still have all those other guys taking tons of shots, plus an OG Anunoby who's doing more this year.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Fred VanVleet's played in way less games than he actually has. He's the guy I think has the the bad knee that
bad everything.
I don't think it's getting any better for him. And you're going to see, unfortunately, because I really like the player. I think this could be the beginning of a really rough road for him. So that actually helps Scotty Barnes quite a bit. If that continues to be the case, I think those percentages are going to even out. I think that team has a lot to figure out on the fly with their game, strategy and approach. Like Siakam, they're really committed to him, and he has answered the bell. So, he and OG Anunoby are going to continue in their current roles and capacities. Gary Trent has not been good. Like, that's another sign that something's not right with that offense. I don't think they're concerned at all in Toronto. I think they're going to just let this all work itself out naturally. And I think you're going to see both Barnes and Trent go on a leveling of improved shooting. And it's going to be really, really exciting, I think, for fantasy GMs who have them at that point in time. Now, does this mean that they're going to make ADP? Are they going to be these great success stories? Is Scotty Barnes going to kind of make that leap that people were picturing him as some sort of like Magic Johnson, using the term very lightly there, but like just this big man that can handle, dish, body up any player on the other team defensively and really kind of be the centerpiece of this Toronto squad. They're just, uniquely provisioned in that Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby are like the same exact guy, and they're fun, but Barnes is going to be a little tricky until he hits his stride, which I suspect will happen within about 2 to 3 weeks.
Last reminder here to please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube page. We are going into lightning round, Brew, so we are going to try to squeeze in as many questions as we can before the timer expires. And if I skip yours, I apologize. It's because I don't think it can be done during a lightning round. Is Sadiq Bey worth a pickup? I say yes. Brew?
Yep.
Right.
I don't know what's going on, but yes.
Nick Claxton or Alperen Şengün rest of season?
I've crapped on Şengün. If that's the right enunciation. Yep. I've crapped on him many times this year, but I do think he's settling into a top 75 guy, and that's better than Claxton.
Yeah, I'll go that direction with you as well. Is Cam Johnson worth adding in a points league right now?
Yes.
Yes, I agree on that one. Bobby Portis, rest of season value, and will Chris Middleton impact it in any way?
I haven't confirmed Portis's value.
He's currently number 82.
Yeah, I kind of think he continues. I'll go 75.
Yeah, and I don't think Middleton is a big cramp on that one. You'll see it punch more into some of these other guys like
your guy Brook Lopez.
Brolo! can't be stopped. You can only hope to contain him.
I love that player.
Number 14 in 9-cat right now.
Might be the draft pick of the year. I don't know.
He's
in the discussion.
Bogdan Bogdanovic. Any reason to consider him for anything at all?
No, and this is why I was telling Kings fans who screamed at the top of the rooftops that I was stupid, that you shouldn't really want to keep Bogdan around because he's got knee issues. Hey, guess what? He's got knee issues.
Knee issues. Here we go again. Should we be worried about LaMelo Ball?
That was really screwed up. Like tripping over a fan and re-injuring your ankle is just bad luck. He's going to come back. He'll be fine. It's just unfortunate for those who picked him up on draft day.
This one's just a funny one. The basketball gods robbed us of Chet Holmgren versus Bol knockdown, drag out, string bean matchup of the century.
With Poku like reffing the game or something.
Poku weighs how much I weigh, and he's a foot taller than me, which is rough because I'm also probably a little underweight here. Jalen Williams, will he do anything this year? I mean, I have trouble trusting anything out of Oklahoma City because
I have trouble trusting Gilgeous-Alexander. He's busted records practically, for this season. And if you were like, hey, I'll trade you this, I'm sitting there going, man, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, I know. It's the roulette wheel. Kelly Olynyk, a sell high or a hold? This is a hard one, actually. For me,
if you had people valuing Olynyk at what he should be valued at, I would probably trend to sell high. But nobody ever values Kelly Olynyk.
No. You're not going to get 60 back. He's 60 right now, but you're not getting that back.
Yeah, no, they're going to value him at like 120.
So what?
And
yeah.
So I think it's a hold.
Anthony Davis or James Harden rest of season? I'll go AD. Give me AD.
Yeah, I'll do AD too. I mean, talk about the heartburn in that decision.
Yeah. Well, either way at this point, Harden's an old man too.
Harden's an old man, and they probably play better without him in Philly.
Yeah, maybe. And AD's got him by 9-10 games already.
AD, by the way, AD looks terrible on the basketball court. And I know that people might say I don't agree with that, but he looks terrible to me. Like defensively, he's still putting up numbers.
Yeah, he's a monster. That's crazy that he can be rolling at like 70% and still just destroying things.
Yeah.
He looks better now than he did 2 weeks ago, because when he was holding his back after every shot, and you're like, oh boy.
I just think
at least he's moving a little.
I just think he can't defend anywhere near what the name value is.
No, he can't keep up with guards anymore. He's lost
that's
that
the big key right
there.
They're
blowing past him. But he still handles the wings pretty well. And it's pretty funny to watch wings like try to go at him. He's like, nah, not yet.
Well, they can smell blood, right? So they try, and then
they're
like, oh wait, yeah, he can still jump a little, the wings and his wings.
Like, shoot, I got to be 6'2" or below, and then I can blow past him. But these like 6'8" guys are like, I'm fast, and they're still getting.
Well, that speaks to how great of a player he was, many years ago, that they couldn't get past him.
Pre-bubble. Bubble and pre-bubble AD. He just hasn't been the same since everybody got run into the ground with a 6-week off season. Well. Slow-mo or Poku?
I'll take slow-mo, and Poku's probably more fun. If you want to like roll the dice every night and get that gambling thrill, do Poku. But
oh, God. I got enough indigestion as it is. And Keegan Murray, hold or drop?
There's like serious like kind of king stuff going on because they're trying to keep the two franchise guys happy, and they want Keegan to be good, but like, is either franchise guy going to give up shots or control of the team so Keegan can be good? The answer so far has been no, and he's just trying to figure it out in the flow of the offense. He is a very good basketball player. He's going to be very good. There'll probably be an injury at some point in time that unlocks him. And then all of a sudden they'll be like, wow, we can really run the offense through this guy. But until that happens, and it would have happened at the beginning of the year because he was doing it, then he had the personal stuff go on. Then it all went downhill from there, and as well as some injury stuff. So this is like one little thing that could set it off, and it set it off. And now he's got to climb back up. And I think it's going to be a couple weeks. I think the losing streak that's upcoming for the Kings might be the time where they go, okay, hey, let's try to get Keegan going again.
And that is our final question. I've gone 4.5 minutes over my target time on this one. So thank you, everybody. If we missed your question, I do apologize. We try to squeeze in a bunch of them here towards the end of the show, but there were a lot of big things that we wanted to go over this week as well. By the way, a little piece of news as we're heading off. TJ Warren is set to make his season debut tomorrow and play for the first time since December or January of 2021. December of 2020. Yeah. It's been 2 full calendar
Go
years.
TJ.
Oh, TJ, welcome back, dude. It's good to have you. Famous for his 50 burger in the bubble.
Man, he
Remember
went
that?
from really good to where's TJ?
Gone. Sore foot and then just never. Anyway, wait and see, by the way, for those that are asking on the fantasy side, because there's just no way he's going to get 30 minutes after not playing for 2 years. 2 years, people. So just keep an eye on that. And congrats to TJ Warren for making it back somehow. The big dog at Aaron Bruski on Twitter. I am at Dan Besbris. Thanks so much for hanging with us here on this live edition of Fantasy NBA Today. Go check out our Discord if you're a member of one of our premium services. If you're not, go get one. The Fantasy Pass rocks. Knock your damn socks off with that bad boy. That's all over at sportsethos.com, at ethosfantasybk on Twitter. Once again, please do rate, subscribe on YouTube. Tomorrow on the recorded pod, big weekend review Friday show, because somehow we made it to the end of another week. I don't know where the hell these days are going. Thank you again, everybody, for hanging with us. We'll see you soon.
Arf, arf.